welcome back, everybody. We're back after a week. Thank you for giving me this time to figure out some things, streamline the show, and things of that nature. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. Hope everybody had an amazing weekend. We are a new show. Well, not really. It's the same show. It's just less days and one podcast now. So what has happened over the last week? So I needed time to streamline this whole experience, right? So we were doing the lunchtime rant, we were doing the rant experience, all of that stuff. We were doing all of that stuff, and then it just got too much, right? It was burnout, right? It's like 6 days a week. You're doing content, you're doing live streams. Blah, blah, blah. How do you streamline this and make it more effective? Work smarter, not harder. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the rant experience, which is now 3 days a week. So we'll have Monday, we'll have Wednesday, we'll have Friday, we'll have different segments all 3 days. And then we'll have clips of the shows on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And then we'll have a new little mini doc every Sunday. And so that is the new experience that is coming to AJ's Rant Room. So this is the Rant Experience, which has always been here. But it was only one day a week. But we merged the lunchtime rant into the Rant Experience, and here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Boom. A great show that has been streamlined with more content and just and able to do the things the way that I want to do them. So anyway, welcome to the place where pop culture, politics, entertainment, and nostalgia collide. It's Politics Monday, and you know what that means. Your favorite right winger will be babbling his most certain, amazing right wing Republican talking points. Today in our Politics Fix, we dive into the Mueller death post and the whole controversy around that. In our lunchtime rant, we will go into why the Oscars are so DEI all of a sudden. And we will conclude with an awesome inspiration point tied with the word and all of that and things of that nature. Anyway, all that and more coming up on the Rant Experience.
Thank you for tuning into the Rant Experience. This episode is brought to you by our official merch store, AJsRantRoom.com. Make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you get new uploads and live streams hot off the presses. The Rant Experience is live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at noon. And now, let's get back to our regularly scheduled program.
Woo! All right. So, that's what they tell us to do, when people we don't like die, because we're all gonna die. That's the one thing we're guaranteed, right? But we're told you respect the dead. You're told to take the high road. You're told now is not the time. Too soon. But the internet don't run like that, ladies and gentlemen. We don't do things like that over on this side of the streets, right? And we've seen it with recent events. That it doesn't really matter about the humanity of the person. What we care about is if we like them or not, right? So the moment news broke about Robert Mueller's death, boom, the timeline went bananas. It was lit. And then here comes our favorite president, Donald Jaquavius Trump. Not with a polished statement, not with a Hallmark card. Hey, you know what? I'm sorry for your loss. But no, it's something much more raw, something personal, something that people clutching their pearls and acting like, they're so sanctified and perfect and they always say and do the right things. Let's talk about it, ladies and gentlemen. President Trump set the internet ablaze with his response to the death of former FBI Director Robert Mueller, and folks are acting shocked and surprised and offended. And I'm sitting here like, yeah, okay, why? Why are you offended? I mean, let's really let's be 1000% here, ladies and gentlemen. This isn't some random public figure who passed away. This was a man who spent years investigating Trump, investigating the man's family, his circle, his business associates, digging, probing, applying pressure, trying to connect him to Russia in what became one of the most controversial investigations in modern American political history. So, yeah, there's history there. There's a lot of tension there, and there is a lot of personal beef there. Now, Robert Mueller wasn't just some background figure, right? He was the face of the Russia investigation. He was the guy who got to the podium. Oh, we're going to do all of this, blah blah blah. And the investigation, let's keep it 1,000%. Let's be honest here. It dominated Trump's presidency, his first term, right? It fueled media narratives. Oh, he's illegitimate. He's a puppet for Putin. All this stuff that we were there. We were there. Right. It created a cloud of suspicion over everything Trump did in his first term. We're talking about Trump's campaign being scrutinized, with his associates getting indicted, flipped. You had folks flip on him, and folks were financially destroyed. Forget, everybody's not a billionaire in his world, right? Not everybody can sustain an extended legal battle. So, people were destroyed financially, millions, I mean, tens of millions of dollars spent on legal battles, years of headlines screaming collusion. Hillary Clinton, et cetera, all of them. Russia collusion. The View, the cackling hens on The View. Oh, the Steele dossier. Yeah. Yeah. And at the end of it all, what do we get? We got no criminal conspiracy between Trump and Russia. That's what we got. Nothing was established, right? Now, you can debate the details all day, but from Trump's perspective, that man came after everything connected to him, and he did. So when Mueller passes away and Trump doesn't respond with soft violins, and he's not quoting scriptures, I'm sorry. I mean, what did y'all expect? What did you think he was going to do? Now, I want to get to these fake expectations, because this is where I got to talk to some of y'all, especially on the right, right? Because we voted for him, right. Trump is not a Bible thumping, hyper polished Sunday morning pastor. He's not. He's never been. He's not going to ever be. And we knew that going in, right? We knew he was a bull in a china shop. He was there to bust up the establishment. He was there to get rid of a lot of this red tape in terms of entrepreneurship and et cetera, right? And get these illegal aliens out of our country, all of this stuff, right? Right. We knew who we were dealing with, right? So we knew this going in. So stop trying to rewrite history like this man ever claimed to be perfect, polished, or pastor-like. He never proclaimed it. He never will, right? But what he is a human being, right? He's flawed like all of us. He's direct like some of us. He's emotional like all of us. And he's reactive like all of us, right? So when he says something at a memorial, when he speaks on someone who put his family through literal hell, yeah, you're not going to get a PR robot talking. You're going to get the man talking. And here's the thing. I actually respect that more than the fake, rehearsed, politically correct BS. I prefer you just say it like you mean it, right? Because there's just some people in your life you can give them grace. Yeah, I wish hopefully you repented before you died and you got right with Jesus, and I hope all of that happened. And it's not a but, it's an and everything else. Because we just not gonna do that. Now, yes, Trump does talk about God, right? Especially as of late, the last few years, right? He definitely supports Christians. He is definitely all for liberating Christians around the world. He's all for that, right. And yes, he wants to bring faith back into the national conversation, but that does not mean he is a pastor. or bishop or reverend or whatever it is you call it, right? He is not called to shepherd a church. He is called to fight in a political arena. That's it. That's it. And those are two totally different callings. Now, when you fight in a political arena, you got to do some unorthodox, crazy stuff because politics is dirty. It's disgusting. Even the most faith-based person can get lost in that world, right? So I get it. Biblically, we're taught grace, right? We're taught forgiveness. We're taught to speak life. Even in death, we're taught to do that, right? I understand all that, right? But let's not confuse spiritual ideals with real world expectations of a political leader. You can correct Trump, right? You can disagree with his tone. I mean, but the pearl clutching, the fake outrage, come on, miss me with that. Miss me with that nonsense. We just met. I say this all the time to people who, when I say we just met, okay, cool. So we already know pretty much. You may not know exactly what I'm going to say, but you can probably understand the angle I'm probably going to come from on it, right? Now let me turn to the left real quick because I love when these baboons they sit here and they act like how can he be? How can he stoop so low? It's not becoming of the president. Shut up. I am tired of you people and your selective morality. You want to act like you're the standard of grace and class and moral authority. Please, let's not do that. Let's not do that, right? You are the same people. Charlie Kirk he hasn't been dead 7 months at this point, right? As of the time of this live stream, Charlie Kirk has not been dead 7 months, right? And you are the same people who mocked the tragedy of his murder on live stream, shared it over and over and over again on social media like it was some video game or something. Like this is a human being. Whether you agreed with him or not is irrelevant. This was a human being, right? There was no personal stake you had in a Charlie Kirk. He didn't hurt you directly. He may have said something you didn't like, but y'all mocked that man from here to how you would have thought he walked up to you and called you the hard N word every day of your life, the way these people were acting. And he did none of the such, right? He was actually the one who wanted to talk to you people. He wanted to talk to you. He wanted to reach out and say, hey, let's have the conversation. Let's keep the dialogue open because once we stop talking to each other, that's when things escalate. Well, apparently he might have been a little wrong on that because there's no getting through to you people. Yeah, there's no getting through to you, right? Y'all turn the pain of his assassination into memes. You sold merchandise. Y'all remember the stickers and the t-shirts with the image with the thing squirting out the neck? Yeah, y'all remember all that? Yeah. And let's not forget Halloween, right? Halloween was what, 2 months after his death? No. Halloween was a month after his death. The man died September 10th. Halloween's October 31st. So by October 31st, y'all had costumes mocking this man's murder. Went to Halloween parties and parades dressed like a man who had been murdered. So, do we give permit to white people to dress like Emmett Till next Halloween? Not Emmett Till with the face form, Emmett Till in the casket, deformed. Oh, you don't like that. Oh, now your cooch hurting. Oh, sorry, not sorry. You can't sit up here and act like the epitome of grace and dignity and then act like baboons when you don't agree with people, right? So suddenly you discover decency when it's politically convenient for you. No. You are in no position to lecture anybody about respect. You are in no position to lecture somebody about grace or dignity. You better get that. Robert Mueller's legacy is complicated. On one hand, war hero, public servant, long career in law enforcement. On the other hand, he led an investigation that targeted Trump's entire orbit, cost people millions in legal fees, shaped one of the most divisive narratives in modern U.S. history, fueled what many believe was a politically driven pursuit. And if you're someone who believes that in investigation that the Russia hoax, that investigation was built on shaky ground, or even worse, a hoax, then yeah. You're not gonna look at Mueller like he's some untouchable hero. You're gonna see him as a man who played a role in dividing a nation and damaging lives. And that perspective is real, whether people like it or not. They doesn't. It is what it is. But now, am I co-signing someone dancing on another person's grave? Absolutely not. No. That's not what we're doing here. Right. But at the end of the day, when all is said and done, death has a way of humbling everything. And as men, especially men of faith, we are called to move with a certain level of discipline. Now, that doesn't mean you fake love, right? No. That doesn't mean you rewrite history. That doesn't mean you suddenly act like someone didn't cause harm or bring harm to you and the people you love, right? No. But it does mean you stand firm without losing yourself. Mhm. You can say, I don't rock with what you did. I don't respect your actions, and I still, mhm. I'm still not going to be reckless and bitter and spiritually bankrupt. Right. That's where the strength comes in, ladies and gentlemen. And that's a through line through this show today is strength and really understanding what being a person of faith is and what being a Christian, what that really looks like. Right. And still, no. At the end of the day, this moment isn't about, this isn't just about Robert Mueller, and it's not just about Donald Trump. It's about how we process truth, loyalty, pain, and power in real time. Stop expecting perfection from politicians, especially Trump. Trump is he's the anti-hero in all. He's not going to do the gracefulness. He can do it with certain people like Jesse Jackson, right? Even though him and Jesse didn't agree towards the end of Jesse's life, he had enough respect for Jesse Jackson to say, "Hey, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna say some solid words about you." But this dude here, yeah, no. And please stop pretending, outrage is morality. It's not. And stop rewriting history to fit your feelings. We don't care about your emotional state. Trump responded like a man who remembers what was done to him. hmm Mueller leaves behind a legacy that will be debated for decades, and we, as the people, have to decide. Are we going to be honest about what happened in this country, or are we going to keep playing this fake, selective, emotional game every time something uncomfortable hits your timeline? Because over here, no. I'm gonna deal in absolute truth. I'm not gonna twerk on the fence about it. Not gonna be no, maybe kind of no. No fluff, no filters, no fake grace. No. This is the politics fix, ladies and gentlemen, and that's the things we do over here. Now, normally, what will happen on Mondays in the history of the rant experience is that I would say on this day. So, what happened on this day in American history? But unfortunately, we don't have that segment this morning. Why? Why? Because the one man band thought it would be a great idea to try to produce the video in the morning instead of doing it yesterday when I knew I should have. So, I apologize for not having that, but we will be prepared for you next week. Anyway, with that said, we will be oh no, we're not taking a break. We're just going to keep trucking along here. All right, now it's time for our lunchtime rant. Woo! All right, let's talk about it, ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, gentlemen and ladies. So the Oscars were last week. And I want to say this loud so it echoes all the way from Hollywood to your living rooms to your offices and, all of that stuff. All right. Y'all are not fighting for equality. You black liberals, you're not fighting for equality. You are fighting for approval. And there's a distinct difference because every single year, like clockwork, here comes the Oscars. Mhm. Here comes the think pieces. Here comes the hashtags. So why aren't there more black winners? Why aren't we represented enough? Why don't we get to see our excellence up there on the screen? And I'm sitting here like, why are we still begging to be seen by people who already showed you they don't care? Furthermore, they've already shown you how they see you. Let's talk about it. As a melanated conservative, as a radical Republican who happens to have darker melanation in his skin, I hear this all the time. And it's not just me, all of us, all of us melanated conservatives, we've all been on the end of this somewhere or the other, whether you're on social media or in the real world or whatever, right? All of us hear it. Oh, you just want white validation. You trying to be white adjacent. You want a pat on your head from white people. Now, let me say this really, really clear to you fools. That couldn't be further from the truth. What you're actually looking at are individuals who are fiercely independent. Mhm. People with standards, high standards. People who refuse to bend, break, and shrink themselves just to be accepted. And let me tell you what really bothers folks. It's not our politics. And no. It's more along the lines of the fact that we refuse to trauma bond with you. Oh, yeah. We refuse to sit back and live in historical pain like it's actively happening in 2026. And while we can acknowledge where we come from, right? We can acknowledge in 2026 when something is wrong, but we don't live in it. That's the difference between you and us and y'all, right? We don't build our identity around the trauma. We understand that the world is never going to be a perfect nirvana, and we're not going to be skipping flatties and frolicking. The world is tough for everybody, right? And you being black don't give you an exception. There's never going to be this nirvana for anybody, right? No matter how much money you have or don't have, right? You're always going to be contending with something, right? Why? Because we're human beings, right? Yeah, we're human beings. Yeah. But I don't know why that right there shakes people. But let's talk about the real hypocrisy. Now, here's the irony that nobody ever wants to talk about. The same people accusing melanated conservatives of wanting white acceptance are the same ones begging white institutions for validation. Oh, you ain't ready. Now, are we going to keep it all the way real or are we going to talk fluff? Right? No. Let's keep it all the way real. DEI initiatives. You don't even benefit the most from DEI, but y'all the loudest ones. Affirmative action. Again, y'all don't benefit the most from that, but y'all the loudest ones. And now you have Hollywood award shows. Oh, for decades. The Academy Awards have been criticized for their lack of diversity. Remember Oscar So White campaign? Jada Pinkett Smith got pissed off that Will Smith didn't get nominated. I forgot for what movie. And she just started the Oscar So White hashtag Oscar So White because my husband didn't get nomination. But let me ask you something. If the system is so broken, so biased, so rooted in white supremacy, why are you still chasing their approval like it's the highest honor on earth? I know some of this y'all gonna have to process because you haven't really thought about it, but that's how we see y'all. That's how we experience y'all. Right. Now let's talk the numbers game. We got conversations like Michael B. Jordan is the sixth black actor to win Best Actor. Okay, great. When do we stop counting? When we get to 10, 50, 100? Like, what's the quota? What's the quota? Because at some point, this stops being about excellence and starts being about a tally mark. And I'm bored. And I'm not playing the game. Now, I saw the movie Sinners. Actually, it was the last movie I saw in the theater. And that was what, a year ago? We know I don't watch a lot of movies. We know I don't watch a lot of movies. So I saw Sinners. It was okay, right? It was okay. You know, spiritually it was terrible. Like it was a conflict. It was an attack. It just wasn't cool. I hated the way the movie ended. Beautifully shot, right? Visually beautiful. That's to be expected. Ryan Coogler, he is known for great visuals, cinematography on point. Incredible, incredible. I said that. You could go back and watch that review of Sinners. I literally said that. Beautiful cinematography. But let's be honest. Beautiful visuals do not automatically equal best picture. Because that was the gripe. Well, how come they can win for cinematography and not best picture? Because they're not the same issue. Cinematography is what you see, is the visual, it's the art, right? It's the beauty, right? It's being able to set the mood, the moment. It's been like, wow, that is breathtaking. Now, as a complete body of work, what did you contribute? The script was average. The acting was good. There was no actor in there that was bad. All the actors were good. But as a complete body of work, it wasn't going to outperform the film that won. It just wasn't going to do it. So that's why. And it's actually, you had the same issue last year at the Academy Awards. The film that won Best Cinematography did not win the Best Picture. So yeah, you got that going on. What? Hold on. So it had nothing to do with race. It had nothing to do with the background of the people. It had everything to do with the quality of the film, right? Just because it's visually beautiful doesn't mean it's worth getting the best picture trophy as well. Sometimes the film just doesn't measure up in that category, and that's okay. It's fine. But we've gotten to a place where we feel entitled and we think that any critique gets labeled, it gets labeled as oppression. And we've just become so intellectually lazy. Now let's talk about the stunt. Mhm. The stunt that these white liberals pulled on y'all. Because this is where it gets really interesting. So do y'all remember back in 2020 when the Academy rolled out these diversity standards? Yeah, y'all remember that? Okay, cool. Well, if you don't, I'll give you a quick reminder. Sounds great on paper. All right, right. So when you actually break this down on the surface level, it's very surface level, right? So to qualify for Best Picture, for a nomination for Best Picture, a film has to meet 2 out of 4 diversity standards. And those standards, I mean, they're very broad. So you could pick anybody from any pool of oppressed people. And it is what it is. But you can check the box by having one lead or a supporting lead that is strong from an underrepresented group. You could check the box by hiring a crew, hiring a crew from certain backgrounds. You could check a box by offering internships and apprenticeships to people of suppressed backgrounds, right. Filling out inclusion paperwork. Yeah, that's it. That's your diversity revolution. Ladies and gentlemen. And then how they got around the loophole, and how many of the white liberals in Hollywood get around the loophole. They don't submit their film for Best Picture. Because if you don't submit your film for Best Picture, you don't have to follow these diversity quotas. Ladies and gentlemen, that is not transformation. That is checking a box. Mhm. That's them saying, "We don't really care about this, but here's something to keep y'all quiet." Sound familiar? Sound like my favorite LBJ quote, doesn't it? Where he said, let's give the blacks, parentheses, just enough to quiet them down, but not enough to make a difference." Right? Yeah. So here's the hard truth about validation, ladies and gentlemen. You've got black artists begging for recognition from these same institutions as if their own platforms aren't enough. I mean, black folks, we got the NAACP Image Awards, we got the BET Awards, we got the Soul Train Awards, and many other award shows. Mhm. I don't know, do the Hispanics out there, when y'all do like the Latin Grammys and all that stuff, does that validate your artistry, or are you begging to get into like the main Grammys? I don't know. I don't know how other groups do it. I don't think there's an Asian award show unless it's in Asia, right? But in America, there's no Asian award show. So, but it's not enough. It's never, ever, ever enough until you get that Academy Award stamp, until you get that Grammy nod. Mhm. The white liberal establishment, without their approval, you're nothing. That's y'all belief. That's not my belief. That's y'all belief, right? Because here's the thing: most people don't cross over. Most country artists don't cross over into the mainstream. Most of them don't. They stay country, which is why, unless you're a consumer of that genre, you don't really know anybody who sticks to the genre, really. When they venture out, then you start to know them. But for the most part, people don't, right? But that right there is your issue, ladies and gentlemen. Begging for approval. Now let's go even deeper, because there's a long standing conversation about what kind of roles actually get rewarded by the Academy, especially the melanation, the black artists that get awarded by the Academy. So let's not act like that doesn't exist, with a few exceptions like Whoopi Goldberg and Ghost, and Jamie Foxx and Ray, and Will Smith in the Venus and Serena movie. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head right now, but a lot of the roles get recognized. A lot of the roles that get recognized by the Academy fall into one of four categories, or a mixture: servitude, trauma, dysfunction, and comic relief. So you got The Help, and even, back in the day, Hattie McDaniel, that was a totally different world, right? So I'm not even including Hattie McDaniel in this, right? Right. So that's a totally different world. But you talk about servitude. Yeah, the help. Oh my gosh, Viola Davis should have won that. She should have actually won that Oscar, but she didn't. But Octavia Spencer won it. Being a servant, being a maid. hmm Trauma. Oh yeah, because they love our trauma now. 12 Years a Slave was all over the place, right? Oh, 12 Years a Slave. And then you wonder why, after you became the slave, they only offered you slave roles. Oh gosh. Oh, they love your dysfunction too. Yeah. Let's be dysfunction, or comic relief, like Cuba Gooding Jr. in what was the movie? Show Me the Money, Show Me the Money, whatever that movie was called. Yeah, he was a comic relief. He was a sidekick. He was the baboon. Now let's talk about something that makes people really uncomfortable, because discomfort, and being discomfort doesn't mean I'm wrong. It doesn't mean I'm false. Doesn't mean I'm lying to you. Right. And even when you step outside of that, you still see questionable decisions. For example, Denzel Washington didn't win for his superb performance as Malcolm X. Now, if there was ever an Oscar that should have been won, it should have been Denzel Washington for Malcolm X. But no. We're gonna give it to Denzel for being a slave. He got it for glory, and then we're gonna give it to him for playing a crooked cop. Congratulations, Denzel. Yeah. Then you have Forrest Whitaker playing one of the most cruel dictators ever, Idi Amin. So again, I ask, What exactly is being rewarded here? And then you Oscar so white, Oscar so white, Oscar so white. Oh my gosh, all the white people, why don't y'all let us in? So then the white people said, all right, we're going to give y'all a chance. We're going to give you a whole black crew. The director of the Oscars is going to be black. The crew is going to be black. The cameraman, everybody's black. And the night that should have been historic by Hollywood standards, you had a black man directing it. And I have to say, he did it in excellence. Great direction. But what happened? It was overshadowed. Do y'all know why it was overshadowed? It was overshadowed when Will Smith walked up on stage and slapped Chris Rock. Oh, yes, ladies and gentlemen, it was that Oscars that happened. So the white liberals gave y'all the keys to the kingdom. And instead of remembering the excellent direction of that night, we remember Chris Rock getting slapped, being stunned and shocked, standing on the stage trying to get through his monologue and present the award, because now we don't know what's going to happen. And instead of y'all getting Will Smith out of the building, y'all kept him there because y'all knew he was going to win the award later. And he slapped Chris Rock over a joke about Jada Pinkett Smith, a woman. That is his wife on paper. They weren't even living together. They were separated, putting up a united front like this beautiful power couple, knowing the whole daggone time they weren't together. We only found that out later in Jada Pinkett's book. So you up here slapping another man at an award show over a wife that's not really your wife because she getting beat down by a young man who was the best friend of your son. Oh, God. All right. So let's be honest here. That situation revealed a lot more than any of us were ready to talk about. But it wasn't just about a joke. It was about image. It was about ego and dysfunction and playing out. All of it played out on the world's biggest stage in their world. Mhm. So here's the real threat, ladies and gentlemen. The part that nobody wants to talk about out loud. Black liberals are threatened by black conservatives. Yeah, I said it. Yeah, I said it. Because the freedom they claim to be fighting for is the freedom we're already walking in. Oh. You see, we're not begging. We're not performing. We're not shrinking. You know what we're doing? We're building. We're creating. We're moving forward. That's not to say we're perfect. None of us are perfect. But we understand what the mission is. We understand the assignment, the bigger picture, right? And that right there disrupts y'all victimhood narrative, the stuff that y'all want to sit in for all eternity, because you've been conditioned to believe that if someone looks like you but does not think like you, that they are in fact your enemy. And that is the most ridiculous mindset you could have. We can roll out the red carpet. We have to roll out the red carpet for black liberals and accept them and talk to them. But then when it comes to us, yeah, shut up. Oh yeah, don't get too close to me. I don't want nobody, I don't want anybody that I work with knowing that I know you. Oh, okay. So who's really the sellout here? Because we got to ask ourselves some real questions. The sellout? Oh no. The sellout. Is it the one who builds their own lane? No, it's not that person. No. It's not the person soldiering forward. If you don't want me at your table, I'm not going to beg to be there. I'm not going to beg for a seat at your table if you don't want me there. I'm going to go over here and build my own table. In excellence, because you got to always remember that part. In excellence. Build your own table in excellence, ladies and gentlemen. Now, is it those folks, the one building their own lane, or is it the folks who are begging for a seat at a table that clearly does not want them there? Hmm. The one who sets their own standard, or the ones chasing approval from people who only reward them under certain conditions? Slaves, maids, whores. Halle Berry would not have an Academy Award if she didn't pull her breast out. I said it. Now, let's be honest. If you're willing to be validated only when you play certain roles, that is not success. That is submission. hmm And here's where it gets deeper. This isn't about some superficial. This is a spiritual battle as well. Because there's no biblical instruction telling you to measure your worth by man. None, not one. When Paul said in Galatians, "Am I now seeking the approval of man or of God?" He was making it clear. I can't keep it 100 with you, keep it real with you, and chase your approval at the same time. You got to pick a struggle. Now, let me be clear. Michael B. Jordan is talented. This is not a knock on him. He's a talented actor. hmm But let me ask you something. Was he not him before he won the Academy Award? If he had never won an Academy Award, would his career be any less valid? It be any less valid? That's the standard y'all put on things. Oh, you have to get here. If you don't get here, then you don't win nothing. He had to do a film about rejecting Christ to win an Academy Award. hmm Again, still talented. Not taken from his talent, but his talent was valid before the statue. hmm So what are we really celebrating? Because what I'm seeing, what I've been seeing my whole life is Black insecurity. hmm People uncomfortable with confidence. People uncomfortable with standards. People uncomfortable with independence. I'm pretty sure a lot of the other melanated conservatives can relate to me. You've been called uppity at one point in your life, right? Right, right. Because you want to start your show on time, because you want things to be done in excellence. hmm No, it's not uppity. It's not trying to be white. So is whiteness being on time? Is whiteness wanting things to look and be a certain way? That's not whiteness. That's an individual who knows their worth and won't accept anything less, right? That is knowing who you are and refusing to crawl into the sewer just to be relatable. When your standards are low and your definition of success is based on illusion, you will never be satisfied because your validation is conditional. It's temporary, right? Controlled by somebody else. You scream white supremacy while treating white liberal approval like it's the gold standard. Can we make that make sense? I mean, I can't make it make sense. So Black excellence is only contingent on what white liberals validate. That's crazy. Real power is not being invited to somebody else's table. Real power is about building your own table. And as I've said about 40 times already, in excellence, in truth, in identity. When God says yes, no man says no. When Jesus says yes, nobody can say no. And when your identity is rooted in Christ, you don't walk around with an inferiority complex. You don't beg for validation. You don't measure yourself against broken systems. You stand, you build, you become. So while the world keeps chasing trophies, we'll be over here building legacies. And that will always outlive an Oscar. Because even if you listen to the Oscar winners today, a lot of them say it was totally worthless. Worthless trophy, worthless. So yeah, do as you wish with that. Do as you wish with that, ladies and gentlemen. But nothing I said, if you can't dispute what I said without attacking me, that right there proves my point. Well, we never want to have that conversation. We just want to feel. Anyway. We will be right back.
A lot of us kind of need to face the fact that we really don't want to be a Christian. What we really desire is a genie. We were advertised God like a commercial. Got depression? Got sadness? Don't know your purpose? Try Christianity. Side effects may include long waits, testing of patience, sleepless nights, got suicidal thoughts, can't stop cheating on your wife? Try Christianity. We weren't advertised Christianity right. We weren't told what really comes with it. Here's what proper advertising of Christianity should look like. Acts chapter 9. Paul, on the road to Damascus, gets knocked off his horse. Jesus blinds him. They have a conversation. He says, Lord, who are you? He says, I'm Jesus, the one you persecuting. And then Paul says, okay, what you want me to do? Snap, you real. Let me stop. The Bible says that Paul was blinded for 3 days. It says the Lord said, go over the straight street to the house of Judas. When you get there, ask for a man from Tarsus named Saul. That's Saul Paul. I have shown him a vision of a man named Ananias coming in and laying hands on him so he can see. Verse 13 says, but Lord, exclaimed Ananias, I've heard many people talk about the terrible things this man has done to the believers in Jerusalem. Verse 15, but the Lord said, go, for Saul is my chosen instrument to take my message to the Gentiles and to kings as well as to the people of Israel. That sounds like a prophecy, right? You're going to go touch millions. You're going to go raise the dead. God's going to use you to do this. God's going to use you to do that. That's how we're brought into Christianity. But they leave out the last verse of this scripture. Verse 16. And I will show him how much he must get money, get followers, get love from people, how much he must suffer for my name's sake. This is the problem. We don't tell people how much they have to suffer. We make them think that suffering stops when relationship to Jesus starts. Not true. We take suffering as something that we don't deserve. We feel like, what's the point of getting with Jesus if this is going to be the point? You know what's really bad about that is that some people think that way and refuse to leave the Christian faith alone. Because what they do when they stay Christian and reject suffering is they create a gospel that says that suffering is not necessary.
Preach.
That says that God only cares about success, health, and you getting money. And then when people start to go through seasons of suffering, they think something's wrong. They starting to rebuke stuff that's necessary for their growth. If I'm living a life of blessing, everything that I do is based on blessing. When suffering comes, Jesus becomes useless to us.
Well. And just a little backstory on this particular video. So I was having a little mental moment a couple weeks ago. And this is when I started to realize I was burnt out doing this. And so I was like, all right, I don't know what this is. And I'm a little over it right now. And just like freak everything, you know, this is ridiculous. This is hard. I don't want to do this. And so then this video literally popped up in my Instagram feed. Literally it popped up and it was like, shut up. Gather me right up, got me right together. It was like, look, you think this is gonna be some cakewalk? Which I've said in the past, but it's another thing to say it. It's another thing to actually be living it. It is not going to be a cakewalk. It's not going to be this fun time all the time. You know, there's going to be tasks and things that are asked of you, and dying to the flesh is not easy, y'all. It's really, really not. But so for some reason, folks think it's easy, or it's easy to talk about, sure, but it's not easy to actually walk out. Because most of us, yeah, we're human beings. We're carnal creatures. We want what we want when we want it, you know? But to sit here and say that I'm going to die in the flesh, that I'm actually going to live by your word in this world? Oh, no, Sway. No. It is much easier to live in the world. I mean, not to say that the outcomes you're going to get are going to be great, but it's easier to just go along and not be persecuted every 3 seconds for what you believe and why you believe it, you know? So anyway, just going into the actual word, that actually segues right into our final segment, which is a new segment called The Word. And so the word is as stated, for I will show him how much he must suffer for my sake, for the sake of my name. So that's God saying, I'm going to use this man for a big purpose, but it is not going to be easy. He's going to go through a lot of hardship because he represents me. Now, what's really going on here? Paul hasn't just dramatically been changed. He went from persecuting Christians to becoming one of the most important voices for Christianity. God is making this clear in this moment. Following this calling will come with a cost. So what does suffering actually mean? Because people are like, oh, you're going to suffer. You're going to suffer. It doesn't mean punishment. It means being rejected by people. If you've ever tried to change in your life, and I'm a living witness for the last 13 years. I'm a living witness. Not every friend can go. Not every family member is going to take the ride with you because they're not equipped to do it. That's it. They're gonna think you're wackadoodle. They're gonna think this, that, da, da, da. But they'll think everything. But the reality of the situation is they can't go, and that's what they're really mad about. Mm-hmm. You haven't lost your mind. You're not wackadoo. You're not crazy. You're none of those things, right? They can't go, and that in turn annoys them. Mm-hmm. You will face persecution, possible imprisonment, and danger, right? Enduring hardships because you're standing for truth. Don't I know? And the deeper message here is purpose often comes with pressure. Mm-hmm. The crown is heavy. Mm-hmm. Calling comes with sacrifice. When you stand for something bigger than yourself, it won't always be comfortable. In fact, I'll even say most of the time it's not comfortable. Mm-hmm. So the real life takeaway here is this. The verse is basically saying if you're going to represent something meaningful, especially something spiritual, you're going to face resistance. But that doesn't mean you're on the wrong path. It often means you're on the right one. And so stay the course. Yeah, there are days where you want to give up. There's days where you want to say, you know what? Forget it. I get it. I'm there right now. There's days you're like, yo, it'd just be easier, to do X instead of Y, and more people will like me if I do X instead of Y. But, when you're called to something bigger, you got to be able to stay faithful. Mm-hmm. And that prayer life is very important, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, every morning for me. I'm not saying I'm telling you what to do, but it's very important. It's very important. And so don't get skimmish, you know. And the prayer is basic. It stop overcomplicating the prayer too. Like it is a conversation with God. Literally, that is what a prayer is. It's not. It doesn't have to be this deep, ethereal movie moment, magic script. It doesn't have to be any of that. It is a conversation with God. That's it. Stop trying to oversimplify it. Stop trying to make it something it don't need to be. Jeez. But I get it. I was there too. You be sitting there like, what am I gonna say? What am I gonna say? What I'm gonna do? I don't know. All right, I'll figure it out. So yeah, it's a conversation. That's all it needs to be. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm so happy our first show back. I'm really, really excited. If you would like to support the channel, you can head on over to AJsRantRoom.com. That's AJsRantRoom.com. I know the graphic took a minute to load, but there you go. If you'd like to support me going to AmFest to be a vendor, you can go to givesendgo.com/AJsRantRoom or scan that beautiful QR code. If you'd like to buy me a coffee, or in this case, a tea, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/AJsRantRoom or scan that beautiful QR code. We also take super chats here in the live and other and things of that nature. I don't know. Click the thing. I don't know. I'm not a big, whatever. Um, also, if you'd like to support my other socials, you can please cross pollinate. If you follow me here, go to TikTok or to Instagram or to X and support me on another platform. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Now to you, this might be just another podcast, but to me, this is the next chapter in purpose. And I thank you for lending me some of your time. You could be anywhere in the world right now, but you chose to give me a few moments of your day. And for that, I am grateful. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, I am out.